Well, for the second day in a row, I start with a phrase I never thought I would utter. Republican President Donald Trump is having the United States government buy stakes in private companies. This is what we used to call communism in the quaint old days when we were told Democrats are going to do this. There is a lot to explain here. There's a lot to talk about. So let me first kind of give you a little bit of information about what's happening and then take a step back and discuss the political implications. This latest move from Donald Trump is so wild that even the MAGA diehards are sort of scratching their heads. This is not the Fox News boogeyman version of if a Democrat becomes president, they will socialize or even communize. I'll get to these terms in a moment. Private industry. This is Trump's Republican government saying we are buying a 10% stake in the private for-profit company Intel, the chip maker that lost almost $19 billion last year and has really been struggling to compete with Taiwan's TSMC. And so what the Trump administration has decided to do is to buy 10% of Intel. Now, let's step back for a moment. We're going to see a clip in a moment from Howard Lutnick saying, we might even do this with more companies. But before we do that, I want to remind you that it has been Republicans warning us. Democrats either want to turn the country socialist or turn the country communist. Now, you can ask 10 different people for their definitions of socialism and communism. You'll get 12 different answers. Many of those answers often self-serving, but as a very simple shorthand, we might consider socialism would be socializing ownership of private industry, meaning it is owned by society, or at minimum, it's owned by the employees of the business, although that's more of a co-op. But the socialization of the means of production would be that it is owned by society. And then communism, we might often say as a shorthand, the government owns industry. In other words, there isn't really private industry. Businesses are owned by the government. What Donald Trump and the administration are doing here by taking a 10% stake in Intel and maybe in other companies, as Howard Lutnick is going to tell us momentarily, is a form of the communism that Trump and MAGA and Republicans have been warning us it's Democrats who would implement it. Now, Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick has been saying this is great, even though he is an anti-communist, an anti-socialist. He's been saying this is a fair deal for the American people. Intel's CEO came in to talk to Trump in order to save his job, and he's walking out with billions of dollars from the government in exchange for a stake in the company. So what's happening here is that the government hands Intel $10 billion essentially in subsidies and then takes $10 billion in ownership stake right back. When will the right start criticizing these obvious communist policies by Donald Trump? I don't know, because here's Howard Lutnick saying we're going to do even more of this. We might nationalize Lockheed Martin or other companies. Listen to this.
What about defense companies, though, Secretary? Why shouldn't the U.S. government say, you know what, we use Palantir services, we would like a piece of Palantir. We use Boeing services, we would like a piece of Boeing. There are a lot of businesses that do business with the U.S. government that benefit by doing business with the U.S. government. I guess the question is, where's the line?
Oh, there's a monstrous discussion about defense. I mean, Lockheed Martin makes 97% of their revenue from the U.S. government. They are basically an arm of the U.S. government. They make exquisite munitions. I mean, amazing things that can knock a missile out of the air.
Just delicious bombs.
When it's coming towards you. But what's the economics of that? I'm going to leave that to my Secretary of Defense and the Deputy Secretary of Defense. These guys are on it and they're thinking about it. But I tell you what, there's a lot of talking that needs to be had about how do we finance our munitions acquisitions. I think a lot of that is talking. And now you have the right people in the jobs and Donald Trump at the head thinking about what is the right way to do it. I tell you, the way it has been done has been a giveaway.
Trump is doing what the right has spent decades fear-mongering that the left would do. The federal government is going to start buying pieces of businesses and putting the federal government inside of the boardrooms. That's socialism. It's communism. It's Marxism. Just imagine if Senator Bernie Sanders proposed this. You would have Republicans saying this is the death of capitalism as we know it. When Trump does it, Lutnick goes on CNBC smiling ear to ear with a shit-eating grin, saying this is America first. We are doing what is best for the United States. So let's not ignore the very obvious here. This is not a principled shift in economic policy. It's not like you're going to sit these people down and they're going to say, you know, all these decades we were fear-mongering about communism. It's actually pretty cool. We decided it's a good idea. It's something we want to do. This is not about that. This fundamentally, you always have to analyze the actions of any administration, but certainly this one. You always have to analyze it in the context of what is the prism through which they see everything. For Trump, there are a few prisms. There's loyalty and himself as the greatest good, the highest good to support. There is fear. In other words, the desire to be feared and the belief that being feared is the most powerful way to get people to do what you want and to succeed as he defines it. And number three, it's about power and control. And so Trump getting to have a stake in deciding which companies thrive based on who he helps and which companies collapse based on who he chooses not to help. National security aside, national economy aside, he wants everybody dependent on him. And the more dependent on him that people and companies and media outlets and other countries are, the more power he has. And one of the ways to do that, of course, is by sowing fear and making people afraid of you as he sees it. So for now, the stake in Intel is a non-voting stake, but the precedent is very dangerous. And investors are warning this creates a new category of political risk for U.S. businesses. You know, U.S. businesses have a lot of different types of risk. There's economic risk. If there is a global or national business cycle that is up or down, aside from what sort of tchotchke we produce, we would have upside or downside based on these global business cycles. You've got pandemic and national disaster type risk, right? These events that are unpredictable and they are not man-made events. Well, now there's another layer that you're potentially adding to this. And that is, are we on the good boy list with whoever is in the White House, or are we on the bad boy list with whoever is in the White House? This is what they told us to be afraid of if a Democrat became president. And the president that said, I will drain the swamp, is now the one who is buying pieces of the swamp, filling some swamps, supposedly draining others. Authoritarian economics looks like this. You know, this is not neo-Keynesian. This is simply authoritarian economics. The state will grab pieces of private industry while claiming it's for your benefit in order to sow fear and to seize more control. And if Howard Lutnick here is to be believed, this is only the very beginning. They're planning on doing more of it. What happened to the free market? What happened to capitalism? As usual, it's here are our principles until they're convenient, and then we'll throw them away and do the complete and total opposite. Many of us know all too well about the sticking, rubbing, and chafing that you can get with traditional underwear. Our sponsor, Sheath Underwear, have created unique boxer briefs with multiple ergonomic compartments in the front, which prevents skin on skin, and that means everything stays separate, comfortable, dry, and cool. You will have a boost of confidence when you're out and about. I've known so many people who were skeptical about those compartments, friends who say, I heard that ad for Sheath, what about those compartments? And then they try it, and then they're amazed at the comfort and breathability when they finally try it. You will thank yourself. Plus, Sheath has brand new materials like bamboo and mesh for even more cooling comfort. They will be the most comfortable pair of boxer briefs you ever put on. No more sweatiness and chafing and readjusting, especially at the gym. It's a lifesaver. Give Sheath Underwear a shot. I've had a great experience. I think you will too. head over to sheathunderwear.com/Pakman and get 20% off with code Pakman. The link is in the description.